concerns over slow demand from China and a report showing rising U.S. crude inventories. Top explorer, which is Saudi Arabia, last week extended its voluntary production cut of 1 million barrels per day for another month to include September. And Russia said it would cut oil exports by 300,000 barrels per day in September. The latest recovery is mainly driven by the pledge of its major producers like Saudi Arabia and Russia to keep supply subdued for another month, a senior investment analyst at Broker XM said. Now, Brent crude was up $1 or 1.2%, having touched $87.24. That's $87.24, the highest price since April 13th. Now, U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude gained 80 cents or 1% to $83.72. The U.S. benchmark touched $84.11, the highest price since November 2022. Crude posted its sixth consecutive weekly gain last week, helped by reduction in OPEC plus supplies and hopes of stimulus boosting oil demand recovery in China. Well, that's where we have it in the oil market today. Hopefully we get better news tomorrow. Now let's move on to the next segment. Let's talk about the best remote jobs to pursue. We started this Monday. We got into this particular part of the drive on remote jobs yesterday. And we told you that one of the major advantages of working remotely is the convenience and the flexibility of not having to go to an office space, right? Not working in a traditional office. Now, yesterday we spoke to you about being a data scientist, nurse practitioner, an actuary. We told you what an actuary is, and we stopped at a computer scientist. And I remember we were begging our computer scientist here in the studio not to take advantage of this and just leave us here and go and be working in his bedroom. And hopefully he heard us, considering the fact that he's still here in the studio today.
Okay. With the hail, we greet you.
Thank you very much for showing up. All right, now let's move on to the next. We have the financial manager with a national average salary of $103,183. That's the national average salary rather. Job outlook 17%, which is much faster than average. It's in the business and financial industry, and you're typically going to require a bachelor's degree. But don't forget, we told you there are skill sets you can actually acquire, and they would cover for your lack of a bachelor's degree if you don't have. There are certificate courses you can take. And yesterday we gave you examples of places where you can actually go and get these courses online. You don't have to leave your house, so you start practicing the remote job with the course. You get it?
Funny enough, all of this, some of these courses, if you want to do them, it's not as if you need to dedicate 3, 4, 5 hours a day. 1 hour a day is okay for you. Just make sure you have 1 hour that you use for other frivolities. Probably you don't just do anything, just sit, press your phone. That time you
are watching reels and TikTok videos.
Just make use of that time. 1 hour in a day. Before 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you'll be surprised at what you have been able to achieve with that 1 hour daily.
Absolutely. Now, the primary duties of a financial manager is to maintain a company's financial health, basically. So this might involve managing the budgets and creating profitability for a young company, or strategic risk assessment and investment evaluation for an established company. Financial management duties include tracking money. So you have to keep a company solvent. A financial manager has to track how much money it has at any given time. Okay? Then establishing compliance. The financial manager must know and bring the company into compliance with all relevant financial regulations.
Sure.
Also, you'll be tasked with creating strategies. The financial management team works to strategize and project financial future of the company.
And the next one is product manager with an average national salary of $102,811. Industry, business, and financial. Again, typical education required bachelor's degree. Primary duties: a product manager oversees the entire development process of an organization's product or service. When developing their product, the product manager may also work with sales and marketing teams to optimize the product for scalability. Some of the duties of a product manager include, but not limited to, because most times if we give you this, you have to know that there are other things that you may have to do. Researching, which is very key. A product manager may research on an organization's product or service plans to understand it better. You have to also be involved in managing a team. That this managing process involves creating team schedules and delegating tasks and responsibility to team members or members of staff. Coordinating launches as well. This process can include creating a product launch strategy consisting of target sales, subscription numbers, and the launch data. This is a very tasking job, to say the least, because you are saddled with the responsibility of especially penetrating new markets. Your decision is the one that either makes or mar your company. You have to be very, very critical in whatever you do in this particular role. So again, if you look at some of these jobs opportunity that we are exposing you to, what you need is basically bachelor's degree.
Most
and there
of them.
are lots of the graduates now in Nigeria who will tell you that school na scam, last we don't go to school finish, we dey house, we no get work. So now we're telling you that as a bachelor degree holder, these are opportunities that you can actually venture into. Remember, the industry is business and financial, but you must not study accounting, business administration, economics, banking and finance, taxation, or what have you before you be able to venture in all of this. That is why we expose you to courses that you can take on Coursera, Udemy, Allison, and the likes. And you also watch YouTube video. From there, you can get more courses that you enroll and have certificate at the end of it.
And the certificate gets you the job. Now, the next is lawyers. So for people who have actually studied law already, because this is one industry you cannot escape going through law school for. You have to study for it. Law. So you can actually practice law remotely. A lot of people don't know that. With a national average salary of $98,861, industry, of course, is law. And typical education required is a Juris Doctor degree. So basically your LLB. That's what you're required to have. A lawyer is a professional who helps individuals and businesses navigate the legal process. Lawyers specialize in particular areas such as family law, tax, criminal law, etc. A lawyer's duties depend on their specialty, but often include working with paralegals, investors, police, and clients to prepare cases for mediations and trials, scheduling and administering full depositions of case witnesses and relevant experts, and also preparing legal documents for clients. Okay, so if you already have a degree in law, and practicing law in Nigeria is actually not as beautiful as it was painted to be when we were younger. You could actually look for companies that have openings, and it doesn't have to be law firms. Actually, several companies cut across several different areas and fields need lawyers. So find firms that need your services and start applying for remote jobs, and it can just be what will change your life.
All right, let's take a look at the next one, which is auditor. With a national average salary of $94,822, business and financial as well. Typical education required bachelor's degree again. Then primary duties: as an auditor, you are a financial professional who analyzes records within an organization in order to verify their accuracy, to track errors, either of omission or commission or whatever. Auditors may work internally, employed by the company whose books they analyzed. Auditors may also be external, working for an oversight agency or government body that regulates the company whose books they examine. Common responsibilities an auditor may have include recommending improvements to controls to increase the accuracy of the organization's record keeping, reconciling financial records and operational records to address inconsistencies, investigating organization record to potential fraud. Very, very key. And you have to have a very good understanding before you be able to ascertain, okay, a fraud has been committed here, or there is a mistake here, or there is this or whatever irregularities that you may be able to detect in this field.
Absolutely. Next, you can try to be a software developer. Now, this is one of the trending tech jobs that a lot of people are getting into, with a national average salary of $93,647. In the industry of computer and information technology, you need a bachelor's degree typically, and now your primary duties as a software developer is to design software or applications that allow users to perform specific tasks on computers and mobile devices. While some software developers focus on creating specific software or applications, others focus on creating large networks or systems that manage the devices or control the networks. Your other duties will include assessing and improving new and existing software systems, performing maintenance to existing systems by identifying and correcting errors or defects, or creating code for new software updates. Now, those are your duties as a software developer. You can also work as a freelance if you actually have the skill of software developing. A lot of companies right now, it's hot in the market. And when you're a freelancer, of course, you can set your own price depending on how good you are at the job. So grab that skill ASAP if you're really interested in something like that.
All right, let's take a look at this one. Statistician. When you mentioned statistics, I could recall very well that a lot of people back in school will tell you, I don't like statistics. If it is, Chinwe, I don't understand. Why are you raising your hand?
That's us.
It is because that a lot of people don't want to have any affiliation with. If they have it as a elective course, they rather go for another thing rather than to go for statistics. But let's take a look at statistician with an average salary of $93,592. It's also in the math industry. Yes, typical education required is master's degree, and the primary responsibility of a statistician is to provide an in-depth analysis of data to identify trends and other useful information. Statisticians can work in any field that benefits from data analysis, including education, government, healthcare, sports, and research and development. The statistician applies mathematical theories to industrial data to reach conclusions that can then be applied by professionals in the field. A statistician's duties may include utilizing statistical modeling to identify trends and solve problems. He can also be in charge of collecting data from outside sources and compiling it into a single data set for analysis, suggesting changes to a company's course of action to respond to indicators identified in data analysis. When I look at this particular profession, it makes me to smile a bit and recall for a fact that a lot of people will sit and be asking questions. Okay, they say you should find X in mathematics. What are they going to use X for?
Till now, we've not used it.
But it depends on the course you study. That X that we're talking about, these are still
exactly. These are the people finding X.
You actually make use of it. I discovered that before my university education, I was like, the simultaneous equation, quadratic equation, how would you come and practicalize this? How would you use
theorem?
But I discovered that you can actually use simultaneous equation to solve a lot of problems in terms of factory, because there are ways that they give you the question in written terms that you don't even see. You don't necessarily see the figures. You don't see the equation well spelled out. You have to extract the equation and then you apply the rules in solving it.
I personally feel that statistics is more complicated than math.
It's actually not complicated.
Math
just
is straightforward.
Practice. It's just about practice.
Statistics, you have to engage. I like math because you can engage just your brain. You can literally be using your subconscious to do something else and do math. That's why I like math. statistics needs all of your attention. You have to be focused 100%.
Practice a lot. If you practice a lot, you're gonna get it.
Well, but if it's your thing, get into
course,
it, get into it and cash out of it. Info tech manager, I like to call it like that, but it's information technology manager. It's in the industry of the computer and information technology. You also need a bachelor's degree. IT managers is what they call them, not info tech, but you know. Anyway, these are your guys. IT managers are information tech. Let's check if he's still there.
He's there. I don't mind him. He's there.
IT managers are information technology professionals who plan, direct, and oversee activities dealing with an organization's computer and information systems. The IT manager coordinates jobs related to the hardware, software, and network that the company uses. Common responsibilities for an IT manager include evaluating the organization's IT needs and finding ways to improve the products and systems in place for enhanced productivity, security, and efficiency. Now, also recommending upgrades and enhancements to top management, explaining key benefits of new tech-based investments for business, and then developing and overseeing the IT policy, security measures, and best practices for the company. It might sound like not so much work, but believe me, it is a lot of work.
But again, most of this IT responsibility, if you study them well, you discover that from the outside you see them as if they are not deep, but when you go in, they are very, very wide. You can imagine we've been talking about computer and information technology, but we're mentioning different roles, which means it's telling you that there are a lot of opportunities in that particular industry. The next one is also related to that, which we're going to be taking: database administrator. Is also in the computer and information technology industry. The bachelor degree is what you need. The primary duties include a database administrator, is a specialized computer systems administrator who's responsible for all activities related to maintaining an organization's database and keeping data secured. The database administrator's priority is maintaining data integrity, keeping it available to users, and preventing unauthorized access. Common tasks for a database administrator include evaluating database software purchases, ensuring that the organizational data is secured, making and testing modifications to the database structure when needed. This is talking about you are the defense minister of the organization. When you want to purchase your software, you know where you get them from. When you also make sure AY is smiling because that is where he knows well. It is his field.
He's feeling so proud.
Yeah, of course, that is part of what he's doing for us here at VOP 961. All right, AY, thank you for what you've been doing for us. In fact, you are combining different people's job, doing all alone by yourself. At this point,
we've gone through 3 different jobs that he does alone. Now, imagine if you listening to us right now has this skill set. Imagine bagging yourself a remote job. You are a tech bro or a tech sis sitting in your bedroom, doing all of this and earning in dollars. I mean, exactly. Sounds juicy, right? There's market research analyst. Now, this is also in the business and financial industry, and they have an average national salary of about $85,560. Now, you need a bachelor's degree to get a job like this. Primary duties will be market research analysis. Okay, your primary duties will be to help brands and businesses understand which products and services are in demand, which demographics comprise their target audience, and how much their target audience is willing to pay for their products, okay, and services. Your daily tasks might include monitoring and forecasting sales trends, measuring the effectiveness of market campaigns and sales strategies, conducting research to determine the probability of a product or service success. Come on now. That's a lot of work. But if you think it's something you can do, you can get training on it and get involved. Now, while these things might sound hard, truth is everything is hard. Everything is like in this life is difficult. You just have to choose which one you want to do and then just go.
You simplify it
and do it. Simplify it for yourself. The thing is, just like we said in the start, we said at the start of this, in the introduction of this segment, we said you get to pick one that you are interested in. Same as business. If you're choosing to open your own business, pick something that you naturally are inclined to, so that when it becomes difficult, I don't know if you feel me, yeah? When it becomes tough, you're not as stressed as you'd be when you're doing a job you don't actually care about. So don't just get a job simply because you want to eat.
When the going
have
becomes
some
tough,
passion. Thank
the
you.
tough start going.
Have some passion for what you're doing.
All right, we have this final one that we will be looking at: information security analysts. Quite close to the previous one I looked at, that is data administrator. They have similar responsibility, but there is a difference in a way. This information security analyst is also in the computer and information technology industry. You need a bachelor's degree, and information security analysts help protect companies' information from hackers, viruses, malware, and cyber attacks. They protect computer networks and systems and prevent hackers from stealing important data. An information security analyst job responsibility may include identifying a computer network's potential risk and vulnerabilities, monitoring and investigating security breaches, installing defenses such as data encryption, virus protection, and firewalls. I don't want to say anything more concerning AY with this, because I could recall there was a day we were here, he came and tried to look for one virus that the virus hide. He went and searched some places that I didn't even know exist in the system. He said there is, no matter how you go and find it, and the rate at which the virus was multiplying over
And he
few
was- and he
seconds,
found
he was
it.
like, no, but I don't want to hype AY too much so that they will not come and take him away from us here. All right, that's the much I
Okay,
can
he
say from
struggled
this.
to find it. But then, if just in case, let me give you a few tips before we walk out of the studio. Just in case you're thinking of doing market research analysis, which is actually it's a very good job to do. Okay, so in case you're doing it, make sure you have skills in, or you get skills in conducting research to determine the probability of a product or service's success. You also get skills in communicating with marketing and sales departments to determine promotional objectives, using location data to target customers in specific areas, conducting research on competitors and measuring the success of strategies, offering advice actually on how to design or promote and package products and services using consumer preferences, and using software to compile and evaluate customer data. Now, if you have this, if this research thing I'm saying, you might think it's not for you. If you have an inquisitive nature, you want to find out the source of anything, and you know how to find it, get a job that has something to do with research. Trust me. That's, it's not so easy to, sometimes you get confused. You're like, hey, is this really for me? Yes, it is for you. You're just not thinking that it is. If you have an inquisitive mind, maybe you should try market research analysis, especially if you're trying to get a remote job and you don't want to do anything that entails coding or any of this serious tech stuff. Try market research analysis or any other of the jobs that we have given you on